Good evening and welcome to channel Yemaswati News. My name is Yemaswati. Before we start with our news, let's take a look at our top stories making headlines this half an hour. Lamnyama regiments went on to weed the King's Fields at Sihlabeni Field. Operation Bopa today hit the roads at Mhlaleni. And finally, it seems like there is a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the feud between the two neighbors at Katfogolwago. And now the news in detail. The Ingwala ceremony has continued to the weeding stage, and Lamnyama today were weeding the King's Field at Sihlabeni. We have a report. The Ingwala ceremony still continues, as today it started on the ploughing stage. This is where Lamnyama regiments were ploughing the Sihlabeni King's Field and observing social distances, as well as wearing their face masks while making sure that they adhere to the regulations and taking all health advices so that they can also fight against the spread of COVID-19. Health practitioners were also seen at the place and ensuring that Lamnyama had all that they needed in terms of keeping themselves safe from COVID-19 and any other health-related injuries. It is worth noting that all Lamnyama regiments that are currently ploughing the King's Fields are COVID-19 negative, since there have been testing stations at the Ingwala ceremony throughout its duration. I'm Yemaswati for channel Yemaswati News. Operation Bopa still continues in the Manzini region, as today the Manzini Regional COVID-19 Task Team was inspecting the COVID-19 regulation adherence at Mhlaleni. We have a report. The Manzini Regional COVID-19 Task Team today was out and about as they were at Mhlaleni roadblock area where they were initiating Operation Bopa. This is where they were inspecting public transport, personal vehicles, and many other things, including checking the passengers' temperatures, as well as inspecting if the hand sanitizers that are used, especially in public transport, are actually up to standard. And responsible for this were the members of the ESWATINI Standards Authority, also known as SWASA. We conducted an interview with Mr. Sihlangu, who told us in detail
nemishina ke lemikhulu lekhona ukutshela ukuthi sanitizer nzini unguyo yinoma cha sikhanzile ukuthi intombi yawo vele akasihambi lezinga lekufanele kube ngini lenkinga ke sibili inkinga yamamask bagibeli abawafake amamask bashayele bahole abawafake amamask bafake parcel card.
Mr. Domisani Dube, who is the station commander in the Manzini police station, also said that they are still going to continue enforcing the law, especially when it comes to Operation Bopa, without any leniency.
ukuthi ngabe le sanitizer lebayisebenzisako la kule motela lehlashana size ingile kahle yini ingile lebonakala ukuthi lefanele yini ukuthi nginakundo sona size ngoba ukhanza ukuthi lesinye isikhathi uzokhanza bafake emanti bafake lokwa nalokwa so sinabo ke labo labakubukako lokho na ngaphinde nje ngiphawuphawule kulelo hlangothi sofa nje sesinabo labangetulu ka10 lababoshiwe labatholakala ukuthi le sanitizer yabo akusiyo lena levele ibonakalisa ukuthi ngilebhekakele ukuthi ingasetyenziswa ngisothi sebaboshiwe ke labo bantu laba kufolakele nayo ke leyo ma-sanitizer kanjalo.
I am Kanyisile Mabuza with Kimberly Mavuso for Channel Yemaswati News at Mhlaleni. The Chief Police Information and Communications Officer, Superintendent Pindile Vilagati, has stated that there's going to be a mass search for the missing toddlers at Nyali tomorrow. Following reports of 2 toddlers who have been reported missing at Nyali area, the Royal Eswatini Police has been working around the clock in trying to find where the children have been, which is something that aggrieved the people of Nyali area. Today, Channel Yemaswati reporters conducted an interview with the Chief Police Information and Communications Officer, Superintendent Pindile Vilagati, who assured the nation that they're going to conduct a mass search of the toddlers at Nyali area tomorrow.
We are aware of the situation that is ongoing at Nyali. The people are concerned there, and they've tried all means to ensure that the 2 children who went missing before Christmas are located. We've been working together with the community day and night to ensure that we find them, but all that did not go well. We saw that this thing was not going well with the community, such that there were actions they've decided to take. But as we speak, we are in the same page with the community, and we'll do all in our power to ensure that these 2 children are found by all means, whether dead or alive. As we speak, tomorrow we'll be having a big operation there with the community, and all police officers from the 4 regions will be there. And we do hope that something is going to come out. In case someone has an information or knows the whereabouts of the children, we appeal that they do something before we even get there. They can take them to any route that is popularly used by people, or any path whereby we can identify them. It's either they are still alive or not. We would very much appreciate to find them. In case someone has an information that can help, we can call 999 or 409, or contact the Regional Commissioner, Mrs. Wendy Hleka, or the Station Commander, Mr. Tlabatsi at Kapunga Police Station.
She further continued to urge the residents of Nyali and especially the children's family not to be aggrieved and to be patient with the Royal Eswatini Police Service as they are doing their utmost best in finding the children. I'm Kanyisile Mabuza for Channel Yemaswati News with Kimberly Mavuso, Mbabane. It seems as though there is a light at the end of the tunnel with regards to the feud between the neighbors at Vogolwago area, as one of them, especially the one that we're complaining about, has agreed to remove the fence and open a pathway into the Njali home so that they can have access to the rest of the world. Following a story that was aired on Channel Yemaswati of 2 families which are also neighbors at Vogolwago area, where one of the neighbors had plowed and closed the pathway and road into the other homestead, Channel Yemaswati reporters today were notified that that neighbor had decided to actually open the pathway for the family. And this was not their own personal decision, as the inner council of the area, Edgar Vogolwago, then intervened and asked him to do it. Today they hired a tractor that was going to open for them the pathway as well as fix the place where it was plowed so that their cars can also get in and out of the homestead. However, they stated that their neighbor only just notified them by sending a child to tell them that he was going to open the pathway, even though he had not, and therefore they decided to implement on his words. I'm Kanyisile Mabuza for Channel Yemaswati News.
lidlela ndongeni ENPF lathi sasive nalabo labatsinzekako ukuthi sizobe sivalile ku onke emahhovisi ethu nalawo langaphandle. Sizobe sivalela emaholiday Christmas, sivala mhla ka-20/12/2020, sivule mhla ka-7/01/2021. Sive siyatiswa ukuthi ticela liphuthumako temali yemngcwabo litawemukelwa ihhovisi lelikhulu lakaManzini. Litawuvulwa kuze kube ng-12 emini mhla ka-27 na-31 December 2020 phinde futhi livulwe mhla ka-3 January 2021. Lihhovisi letekulungisa etindlini litawuchubeka lisebente ticelo netimo letiphutfumako. Kuthula, kuthokoda, lithemba kube kini ngalama-holiday akhisimusi nangemnyaka lomusha lotako. Inombolo lephuthumako ya property foreman ithi 7602-8508.
Ivume kanani, ivume nendzaba, bumnyama kwemphethe. Siyavuma labalele siyavuma. Ngalane, vume bumnyameni.
Chepa mina nkanyane, ngamajojo, you will never go wrong.
Hamba ubhekela masoso.
Ngena ngamasoso wakho kuleli hlobo uvikele indlu yakho ngema-search protector nema-lighting arrestor lavikela umbone ema-solar floodlights ema-gross cotton nalokunye lokunyenti electric source kamasoso.
Meet Slam. He works on Mondays to Fridays and he spends most of his weekends socializing with friends. He looks and feels healthy. He doesn't know though that he has the coronavirus. The past weekend, he visited his friends and spent considerable time catching up. Boy, did they not have a good time and did this. Without knowing, Sihlangu has spread the virus to his friends and they too will spread it to other people. One of Sihlangu's friends lives with his mother, who is diabetic. She is at high risk of serious illness and she has underlying conditions. What should they have done to prevent COVID-19? Sihlangu and his friends must avoid physical and social gatherings. Through their chat groups, they can still discuss and catch up on their favorite topics. When meeting one of his friends, both must wear a mask correctly all the time. Observe physical distance of more than 1 meter when with people. Wash hands with soap and running water or use sanitizer. Let us prevent an increase in COVID-19 cases.
Welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us. I'd also like to take this opportunity to welcome all of our viewers who have just tuned into channel Yemaswati. And now we continue with our news bulletin by taking a look at the stories that come from other countries, our international stories for tonight. There was a heavy hailstorm at Sucre, which is a city in Bolivia. This is where the storm swept away markets, cars, and also injured some people from the city. Flash floods have killed at least 4 people in the Bolivian city of Sucre. Following a heavy hailstorm which lasted about half an hour, some of the city's steep streets became fast-flowing rivers. Water rushed down the streets, dragging along cars, buses and market stalls. The worst affected area was around the city's largest farmer market, where drains were blocked by rubbish, making the flooding worse. Residents said the city officials should have done more to maintain the city's storm drains during the rainy season. Locals were caught by surprise by the hailstorm, which hit the city at 6:45 local time. President Luis Arce gave his condolences to the relatives of those killed. Interior Minister Eduardo del Castillo said 3 children and 3 adults were still missing and 7 had been injured. At least 10 vehicles were swept away in the flash floods. Many merchants lost all their goods and several were treated in hospital for hypothermia. And in South Africa, the National Coronavirus Command Council, NCCC, is set to meet on Wednesday. Oscar Mabuyane, who is the Eastern Cape Premier, says that a return to a hard lockdown or an easing of restrictions depends entirely on the behavior of South Africans. The NCCC is convening an urgent meeting amid a rapid increase in infections and COVID-19 related deaths fueled by a new variant of the virus. This meeting will seek to come up with a concrete plan on how the government will further intensify the fight against COVID-19. Eastern Cape has recorded the 4th highest number of infections in the country, but the highest number of deaths with 7,716. Mabuyane has been briefing the media in Bisho on the work being done amid a resurgence of the coronavirus. I'm Kanyisile Mabuza for Channel Yemaswati News, Ngoyoyo. A Simelane family that resides at Murray collapsed a week ago. The condition in which they live in is not conducive for any human being. We have a report. The Simelane family, who lives at a homestead located in Murray Camp at Fairview in Manzini, has been living in a very inadequate house for a week now. It is stated that their house collapsed last week Tuesday, and they since have been living under the ruins and the remains of the house. We conducted an interview with Florence Simelane's daughter, Silungile Simelane, who told us how the incident happened.
Ngithamba mangaba 5 besithatha hlakula la nsimini sabona indlu iwa samangala ukuthi indlu uphushwa yini yawa yonke and saswela ukuthi silalaphi but inhlanhla le masilala ngaphandle ke since Tuesday and singacela labanelivelo ukuthi basiside ngekusakhela ngoba vele kude imali and simangele sangene nje ukuthi why kwenteke kanje but we thank God ukuthi kuwe lendlu sila ngaphandle ngoba kube yawa siyaphuma at that time. Well, lakhaya bamphana sing 6, 3 boys, 3 girls. Make ageve ndlebeni babe unenkinga yengqondo kwamcala 2008.
Lokusho ukuthi kahle kahle ekhaya kuthi kumbe lo ngase unalo limaselo ukuthi kumbe anganakhela noma kumbe limaselo sanithengele nekudla kulesimo esenidibene naso.
Kude futhi wami nomzala akasebenzi and nami I was upgrading this year. Ngikhani ngisatokuya ever since.
Ingabe lisito lenidinga konyalo nini nibaka Simelane kungaba lisito lani kakhulu?
Lisito lelo amafastelo vele obvious afile. Yebo bosemende singathingani umhlabathi.
Ngikunyalo sisindleka kuphi?
Sidlala lapha ngaphasi.
Ngaphasi kwala mathayila la. Noba 8.
Yebo. Number yami is 79758278. Then yamake ina mobile is 76989125.
Anyone who may be of assistance can contact the Simelane family as they live in a very unfavoring environment. I am Kanyisile Mabuza for Channel Yemaswati News with Gary Carlos in Manzini. The late Mr. Patrick Mazia's mother, Regina Masilela, is very displeased with how they buried her son. She stated that she blatantly said that Mazia does not belong in the Masilela homestead, but they continue to bury him inside the premises. We have a report. Gogo Regina Masilela, who is the biological mother to Patrick Mazia, who was laid to rest yesterday, is aggrieved about the way her son was buried, as she had said that he was not supposed to be buried in her husband's compound. Mazia was buried last evening after his mother attempted to stop the funeral by involving the police. All her attempts failed as the funeral continued last evening inside the premises, which she blatantly said that she doesn't want her son buried. Gogo Masilela said that this would not have happened if high-profile people who were involved in the matter, which has taken too long. It even started way before her son passed on.
Ungcwatshwe kusihlwa akusiso abengakaphundwa phela lo muntu sikhuluma ngababe webantfu unebantwana kodwa ungcwatshwe kusihlwa njengemntwana lophundilo lo yafihlwe edalukade angibathi ke nalaba mngcwabile ukuthi bekubobani babathathephi ngoba bengingekho phela makodwa vele wangichilile bantu bami ngibhlungu kakhulu lengifisa konyalo ngifisa ukuthi umthetho ungibukele akaphume magodini abantu abakhe emntini wakaMasilela ngoba sokhombisile ukuthi unekungezelela lokukhulu ungitshela ukuthi leti jubo lenginato athi kacondzani naye licondzene nalo lofile so ufile yena usetha uqala phasi angihudule ufuna tami netakhe tijubo ungiliselani magoda emntini wami ngabacela ukuthi abahambe bayokwakha umuntu wabo tijubo tithi abaphume bayokwakhalikhala bona kaMaziya sasemphakathini sithi akayokwakhalikhala khela kaMaziya sakandaba zabantu sithi akayokwakhalikhala khela kaMaziya saka lapha ka emantshini imantshi yami neli court order kodwa makoti konke lokho akakubali uthi akusiko kwakhe sekuhambeni endvodza yakhe. Ena uma baphuma kulomuntu wami loya kude labatakuthatha makoti nebantwa bakhe utawuthatha ngekhathi endlini utawuthatha tintfo letisendlini indlu lathi utayibita ngeke indlu lengilala kuyona bathi batayibita banye.
A member of the inner council of Zimbabwe Umphakathi said that they also tried to solve the differences of Mrs. Masilela and her son Mr. Mazia by telling Mazia to leave the premises and also tried to approach the royal crow at Zimbabwe so that he could get his own land where he would build his own home. She said that it did not happen, but instead Mazia continued to fight with his mother by going to traditional courts where he also received the same judgment which he failed to honor.
Thina singumphakathi sakuthatha emlonyeni wasibusiso Mazia ulamlipha kukhuluma bona ukuthi lapha kwakhonda Masilela khondela lo mfato wakhe lo ngirijina lo akamlipha lo ngimake Masilela make Masilela ufika endlungulu uthine lasitshela kona wathi uqoshwa ngosibusiso ekhaya lakhe uthi akahamba yofa afele khashana sineke noma ngafa yena ngeke azayi komngqaba akamfunile kumbuka so ke iyahamba indzaba saphuma sidume endlungulu yathi indlungulu sibusiso ngoba sekuvakele kuthi akusiko kwakho lapha akusiko nakini lapha kukaMasilela kungqono ushiye lo nyoko lapha uze ntophilelana uhamba ufuna indzawo nandaba kamanzini wamtshela lokho lasiphumule ke sidume abantu abami. One of
Mazia's daughters was called about the development, but she said she could not comment on the matter at the time because they are still going to try and answer on it somewhere else. For Channel Yemaswati News, I am Kanyisile Mabuza with Kimberly Mavuso in Matapa. And with that, we have come to the inevitable end of our news bulletin. But before signing off, let's take a look at our top stories making headlines once again. Lamnyama Regiment went on to weed the King's Fields at Sihlabeni Field. Operation Bopa today hit the roads at Mhlaleni. And finally, it seems like there is a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the feud between the two neighbors at Gatfogolago. Thank you very much for staying with us. I'd like to wish you a good night and may God bless you.